Hi, guys. In this one, I wanted to talk about the quadrants a little bit. You've probably heard a lot about positive reinforcement based training or force feed training, or you might have even heard the term like balance training. What I wanted to do is talk about why dog trainers do the things that they do. Um, I wanted to talk about positive reinforcement and the other quadrants, but I wanted to kind of take a step back and hopefully attempt to make it a little bit more digestible than, here's a brick of theory. This is kind of my favorite thing to talk about. It's that I love talking quadrants. I love grilling people about the quadrants, especially as they get into dog training and are learning about it. So hopefully I can make this a little bit interesting, maybe a little dry, but I love this subject matter. So this is, you might have seen some form of this table where we have our two axes, our reinforcement and punishment, and on the top we have positive and negative. Um, Positive and negative, we'll start there, don't necessarily mean good and bad. Positive just means adding something, negative just means taking something away. Reinforcement refers to increasing the likelihood of a behavior. Punishment is decreasing the likelihood of behavior. And I want to kind of stop. And the reason I said likelihood is that behavior isn't exact. What we're doing is we're talking about the probability of something. So just because a dog has been taught to do something or taught not to do something doesn't always mean that the thing will or won't always happen. There might be reasons why the dog shows behavior that we've tried to get them to not do, or they don't show behavior that we try to show them to do. All of this is probability. So I'm going to work from the negative side upward. I'm going to end on positive reinforcement. Um, so P minus is negative punishments. So what we're doing here is we're taking something away from the dog that they want. So a really good example of this is if you're working on jumping with your dog and you walk through the door and they jump on you. So what you do is you turn and walk away. So what you're doing is taking away the thing that they want, or that they're trying, the reason they're offering that behavior. This can be really helpful because we're trying to make sure the dog knows if you do something we don't like, this is what happens. Um, on the moving up, negative reinforcement is ending something unpleasant. So the very classic example is the way people used to teach sit is they would pinch the dog's neck and they would say sit. And then when the dog would sit, they would release that pinch. So when they offer the behavior that we're requesting, the unpleasant thing ends. Another example of this is if you use a prong collar, when the dog stops pulling and the prongs release, that unpleasant thing has ended in response to a good behavior. Um, Personal opinion that R minus negative reinforcement is actually the worst quadrant of the four. This tends to, we're putting the dog in a state of mind where they are uncomfortable and they're trying to offer us a fear response to get out of that unpleasantness. What is linked to R minus is positive punishment. So what we're doing is here is we're adding something unpleasant. So a shot collar, a prong collar, a choke chain. So when the dog offers a behavior that we don't like, they're getting something really unpleasant, something nasty. Um, our P plus, and R minus tend to go hand in hand. When we use one, the other one happens as well. So this is why a lot of modern dog trainers, especially those who are accredited through one of the many organizations, we typically avoid using P plus and R minus because these just aren't productive for good learning experience. So put yourself, the metaphor we hear a lot, or you might have heard as a child, is if you put your hand on a hot stove, you've burned your hand. Well, you know not to do that. You don't know how to use a stove. You don't know how to turn it off. You don't know how to bake a cookie. So if I want to teach you how to bake a cookie, that's where you use R plus. So our goal here is to add something the dog likes to increase the likelihood of that behavior. So very often in dog training, what you see people do is food, and this is one of the reasons it is the easiest way to get there. A criticism that a lot of R plus trainers get, like myself, is that, well, you're just giving them food. There's so much more to it than that. The ability for R plus training is as limited as your imagination. Some dogs just really like affection or praise or play or toys, or just being outside going for a walk. These are all things that we can offer our dogs in response to um, in response to the behaviors that we want or we need out of them. A lot of times, we want to put ourselves in the mindset of how to get both of us to succeed. Dog training is a collaborative effort between you and your dog, or you, your dog, and a behavior professional. We want to make sure that we're all working to get to where we need to go, and not by saying you're wrong, you did it wrong here. We want to make sure dogs are encouraged to make their best possible choices, and for you to make the best possible choices. Because what's really important is that R plus doesn't just work and is the most effective. R plus is really great because it helps strengthen the bond between you and your dog. Your dog is a loving family member. We want to make sure that your dog feels that love from you and you feel that love from your dog. Hopefully, this helped a little bit. I know this is kind of thick and dry, but hopefully, this put why we use positive reinforcement, why we use R plus, why we tend to not use those other nasty quadrants. Have a great day, guys.